This is the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, show 42. Can I be an entrepreneur and still love my job? With guest Andy Hill.
Well, first of all, it's a daily struggle, which is fun, but
struggle is real.
like you'd appreciate, Tom, just systems and processes help me get through it. It's also setting boundaries of when I have family time versus when I have, business time. So, and work time. So they're all separated, obviously. So I find the best opportunity for me to work on my side hustle is in early in the morning or late at night. Because that just kind of fits in with my kids, time with my kids and my opportunity to keep my full-time job going.
All right, before we jump into this episode, you guys, I want to give you a little background info on Andy. Andy Hill is the host of the Marriage, Kids, and Money podcast, which is focused on helping families build legacy wealth. The podcast was nominated as the best new personal finance podcast by Plutus in 2017. Outside of writing for his own weekly blog of the same name, his personal finance-focused articles have been featured in Stand Magazine, Business Insider, AOL Finance, NerdWallet, and Rockstar Finance. When he's not talking money, Andy enjoys wrestling, his 2 kids, and singing 80s karaoke with his wife. I love that last line.
I was going to say, well, what could be better than that? So it was interesting bringing Andy on. Andy and I met last year at FinCon, that Money Nerds conference. And what was cool, we were actually on his podcast. And then, when we wanted to bring him onto ours, he's like, I actually don't want to leave my job, guys. I don't want to be an entrepreneur full time. And he's like, I'm just building this as basically a side option to help build this life for our family. We're like, that's perfect.
Yes. We actually had other topics that he had originally submitted for us to chat about on the show. And we're like, no, we're going to chat about that one right there, because I think it was an interesting and very important topic to hit upon, because there are a lot of people that kind of want to keep their job and the financial security and stability that they have, but also have somewhere for that like creative outlet and to impact people in some way and to do something fun. And there's a lot of people that are building those side hustles to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a big part of this too is that lifestyle builders, even though we talk about entrepreneurship a lot, it's really figuring out what kind of life and lifestyle you want and then putting the right pieces in place. And I think an interesting thing, Gazunta, that we got into on the show was the fact that, a lot of people end up quitting their job too soon and it causes more issues. And Andy was just kind of sharing how a lot of the benefits he's had by keeping a job and even the benefits that having a business on the side has helped him with his career.
Yeah. So without further ado, we'll let you guys jump into this episode. Enjoy. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast. We are so excited for today's guest, Andy. How are you doing? What's going on?
I'm great. I'm excited to chat with you guys again.
Yeah. And he says again, because we did a little swap here because we were on Andy's podcast and Andy's on our podcast, which is awesome. We love doing that. So we are here about a very important topic today, which I don't know if you're going to hear this kind of talked about a lot, because in the entrepreneur space, everything is about leaving your job or not having a job. But there are quite a few people that are entrepreneurs, but also still love their jobs and don't have plans to leave. And we kind of, after we chatted with you, talked about it's an important thing to kind of point out there that you don't have to have your goal when you build your business to be, I want to leave my job. It can also be, I like my job and I'm going to build this business on the side. So just tell us a little bit about kind of how you got started with this entrepreneurial journey.
Cool. Yeah. I'd been in the corporate world, 9 to 5 full-time job kind of thing for a little over 10 years. And I just wanted to kind of flex my creative muscle or my entrepreneurial muscle and do something a little different. But I like my job and like the stability of it. So I didn't want to just kind of depart. So I thought, hey, I've been hearing all these buzzwords, the side hustle buzzword, and it just sounds like so much fun. Why don't I give that a shot? So a couple of years ago, I started a blog and a podcast because I had been listening to podcasts and reading blogs. And I said, that seems like fun, called Marriage, Kids, and Money. And I just wanted to have some conversations with like-minded parents who are looking to improve their marriage, their relationship with their kids, and grow wealth for their family so they can give them the best life possible. So I've done that over the past couple of years, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. And that just about aligns with everything that, that we love.
Yeah, well, and that was why, when we first met, I'm like, oh, we're going to do well together.
Yeah, you met at a conference, right?
Yep.
Of course.
But yeah, when we first met, I was like, okay, well, so I come more from the entrepreneurial piece, you come more, and that's why we're talking today more of like, hey, I like my job and that's good. But we're aligning on everything else. And what I really like about you, I mean, everything we talk about is figure out what you want out of your personal life first, and then we talk often, build the business to support it. But in a lot of cases, it doesn't necessarily have to be build the business. It might be build the business and the career. Right. And I actually I had lunch with somebody yesterday, and they reached out after a couple of years, and they're like, Tom, I've been in corporate for a while. I'm not sure if that's where I want to go. I might want something different. Can we chat? And so part of what I did when I was talking through with this guy is say, well, what is it that you want? And we came out to the end of it where he said, I probably am going to have a side hustle, but I think if I can have a job that meets my criteria, I'd like to keep my career. And I was like, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. And it's amazing what you can do with just, 10 to 20 hours extra per week. Because if you exchange that for the time you might have been watching a Netflix series or, I don't know, reading some crap on the internet or flipping through Facebook or something like that, you can produce some exciting things that not only make you personally fulfilled, but could help people as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing with you when I'm looking at everything is that not only did you build this side hustle, but you've also actually been able to do quite a bit, from your personal finances and kind of changing your family's future as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that just to give people kind of background context?
Yeah, sure. When Nicole and I got married 7 years ago, we didn't know like a ton about money. We knew how to earn it pretty well. We had been, we were good at earning it, but we're not really good at managing it. So combined, we were making maybe, just a little over six figures together. So that's pretty good for a family. But yeah, we were spending six figures. So, it doesn't really matter how much you make, how much it matters how much what you do with it. So we were starting to have kids, or we were planning to have kids. And, we were having conversations around, wouldn't it be great if she was able to stay at home with the kids? And that became our driving force. We said, okay, well, let's clean up the debt we have, live on a budget, make some plans, and really, get after this so that we could have a great life for our kids and for my wife as well. She liked her career, but she was interested in kind of moving towards that. So we worked together, made a plan, and we had about $50,000 of consumer debt at the time between a home equity line of credit and student loans and a car loan. And we buckled down because of our good salary at the time and our discipline to live on about half of our income. And we were able to pay off all of that debt, $50,000 in about 12 months. So after that, we just kind of got addicted to the personal finance stuff and became junkies. So
personal finance junkies. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had actually a similar type thing where we got into a whole bunch of debt early on, and then basically had to have kind of that same thing when we were looking at like having kids and what the future looked like. We're like, this debt is just going to drag along with us if we don't do something about it. And I mean, we had kind of gone through some conversations. We actually went through Dave Ramsey's financial piece to make sure we were on the same page with things. And it was just so relieving when we actually had like that consumer debt paid off.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's just it's like a weight off your shoulders. You think about all of the people that you owe money to, or where it needs to go, and how you're working so hard at your job in order to just pay off debts that you got a while ago. Like if it's a credit card, you paid on a vacation 3 months ago, or, a year ago, and you're still paying on that vacation.
Yeah,
it can be very relieving to just have that completely out of your
Well, and as your personal finance junkies, you guys continued on and ended up paying off your mortgage, correct?
Yeah, we got a little cuckoo. We just kept on with it. We were also into Dave Ramsey too, Tom, and a big part of those processes and the steps is pay off your debt, and then man, you could do some crazy things after that. So we said, well, why don't we keep the same intensity of living on half and pay off our mortgage in 5 years' time, based on what we had. And so we had just bought a new house at the time. My wife wanted to upgrade. We had our second one on the way, and with that said, hey, let's get a nicer house. So I said, okay, all right, we'll do the nicer house, but let's pay off this mortgage in 5 years. And she said, all right, deal. So we made a plan, and we kept on living on half. and we just threw extra payments at that mortgage every month for 4 years straight. And we had ups and downs in the beginning when both of Nicole and I were working. She was working part-time and I was working full-time. We had a really good income, so we were throwing a lot at it. And then when Calvin came into the world, we decided, okay, full-time stay-at-home mom is going to happen now. So we went down to just one income, and then the payments went a lot lower. But through consistency and, getting bonuses at work or some side hustles, as you guys have all heard about now through our conversations, we were able to pay off the mortgage in just under 4 years. So we're now completely debt-free, mortgage-free.
Wow.
Well, I love that, because I think so many people get sucked into this entrepreneur world where everyone's telling you, like, do all these things and make all this money and create passive income and quit your job. And what they really should be looking for is, as Tom mentioned earlier, like, what do you want your life to look like? And then look at some of the different options you have to make that happen. One of those options is maybe to stay in your job and cut down what you're spending so that you can pay off your mortgage or pay off your debt. And then if you do start a side hustle, like, that's helping you pay down the debt. And then when the debt's eventually paid down, that's all extra money that you get to live on. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to kind of create that ideal lifestyle. And I think the tough part is when people get sucked into the success stories and, kind of all the hype that's out there. Not only do they not look at other ways to do things and, like, kind of, test things out and look at different options, they also kind of forget why why were they even looking at this in the first place? What was it that they wanted to achieve? And keep that in your mind, and you can do so many things. And one of those things might be keeping your job. And actually, we know somebody who left his job and was running his business and actually missed it. So he ended up going back. Like, that's okay. Like, that's part of your life. You get to choose what you want it to look like. You don't have to listen to people and say you have to quit your job because you're building a business. No, you do what you want.
Absolutely. Testing the waters, like you said, is not a bad idea. That's kind of what I've been enjoying, is that I get to do both. I get to, grow my career that I like, and, they appreciate what I'm doing there. And then I get to do the side hustle. It's funny because over the couple of years that I've been doing this side hustle, I've actually exceeded my sales goals both years. So it's like, I feel like if I'm personally motivated on things in my life, my hobbies, my side hustle, whatever it is, I feel more fulfilled in life. So that makes me want to do better at work, or that makes it makes me perform better.
That's a great point too.
Well, I was going to say, and if anyone listening to this is an employer, I want to speak to you right now, because what happens a lot of times, because I spent years doing corporate consulting, and just about every employee that I talked to either had a side business or wanted to start one. And a lot of the employers would look down upon that. But I actually had a similar experience to you. My side ventures, like first it was real estate, and then it was eventually our liquor store. My side ventures taught me a lot about business, about success, about how to manage time. And then, like you said, they fulfilled me too. And it was like, look, here's my salary at my job. Here's the raise I'm going to get. But I have other means to fulfill myself personally, to make more money if I want to. So there's less pressure on that. And I didn't fall into the trap of oh, I hate my job, because of that. I was able to say, okay, I've got this thing over here that is building income and options, as well as, I can now do better at my job because of that side thing. It's not actually hindering it. It's actually helping it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good point. And I think sometimes if we get involved in this little world that we're in, I think, emotionally and mentally, you can think, well, maybe I don't like my job because everybody else is leaving their job and being a super successful entrepreneur. Maybe I don't like my job. But then think about it a little bit more. Is it completely fine? Is it providing your family with a great life? And are you able to do the things that you love while still doing it? Maybe that's something to consider.
Also, the grass is greener.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So many people fall into that trap. Like, we compare ourselves to other people. We want what other people have. Same thing with the whole job versus entrepreneurship. Everyone in a job sees the successful entrepreneurs and we're like, their life is so amazing. I want that. They're not seeing that you're basically, for the first however many years, trading your job for another job. And in this one, you end up working more and you might not even get paid as much.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't have paid vacations.
There's no
you know,
benefits.
you don't have paid holidays.
You don't get sick days.
I love that you guys talk about that too, because that's the type of people you are. You show the realities of what it is to be an entrepreneur. When I first started out and I'm sending out my invoices, I'm like, oh wait, I have to follow up to make sure they actually pay me.
Yes, you wear all the hats as an entrepreneur. So it's not like where you're at work and you can go and ask somebody else in a different department to go take care of that for you. No, you do it all until your business is generating enough revenue that you can hire somebody to do those things you don't want to do.
Yeah, you guys are really good at that. You've outlined, I think it was on your website, just like these are the realities of being an entrepreneur. It's sexy and it's cool and it's fun because you get that autonomy, but here are the realities of it. So I applaud you guys for that.
Thank you.
Well, and part of this too, like I ended up staying in my corporate job, even though I knew I was going to, eventually leave and be an entrepreneur full time. I ended up staying in there for about 12 years. And I look at so many people that quit too soon, and then they just put so much additional pressure on themselves and on the business. And what ends up happening is that you can't build the business the way you want because you have to do specific things to make money.
There's no backup.
And I was going to say, and I would imagine for you, because you had the stability and, the money coming in from your job, that's allow you to build this venture really in the way you want it, not having to be like, where is my money going to come from next month to pay for food for my family and for healthcare and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a good point, Tom, because an example of that is one of the revenue sources that I have is podcast sponsorship. So if I were to be really strapped for money, then I would take the online gambling companies that are contacting me and saying, hey, we want to sponsor your show. Or I would be, you get my point, but I get to be selective on, the people I'd like to work with that I feel like will actually help, instead of being like, oh man, I gotta get some money in this business right away, or otherwise I'm going to be in a tough spot.
Yeah. And something that just came to me while we were chatting there was to go to the other side of this topic is a lot of people who want to kind of create that side hustle, for use of a better term, while they're still in a job. Oftentimes you have to make the switch in your mind from this is a hobby, this is something fun that I enjoy doing, to I want to make this a viable business. Mm-hmm. I've seen that happen too, where people are kind of in the entrepreneur world a little bit, and certain things about it appeal to them, and they're like, well, I'm going to start a blog. And we're like, okay, that's great. There's amazing blogs out there. But what are the results that you're looking to get from your blog? Are you looking to help people in a certain niche? Are you looking to do, certain things, get featured in places so that you can help more people? And then kind of how are you monetizing it to make sure that you're not just spending your time doing something, but that you're getting something back? And in order to help more people, ultimately, you can actually build a business out of that hobby, instead of kind of just saying that, oh, it's just a hobby, I just do that with my extra time. It's like, if you're gonna go there and actually make it a viable business, and don't kind of sit in that in-between world. Because I've seen it, I've definitely seen it go both ways, where people are like, I'm going to build my business and make it this huge thing, and then I'm going to leave my job, which is awesome. And then you've got people that are like, I like my job, I just want to do a little something extra on the side. So it's, it's kind of looking at, what do you want this to be? And if it is, you do want to make some money off of it and have it be a business, start it that way and think about it that way, so that you're in that mindset.
That's great. So, I mean, as you're doing that in the beginning, where you're just thinking, hey, maybe this thing's a hobby, where's the crossover when the people that you talk to, I know you guys talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, where's the crossover where they're like, hey, this is a fun hobby too. What, I can make money from this? And then I'm sure you guys come through that conversation a lot.
I think some of it, well, I do hear a lot about like the whole passive income thing. So there's a lot of people that we've met and got into blogging to kind of create a little bit of that passive income, where they're, oh yeah, I'll blog, and then I have affiliates in there. And then, I kind of make a little bit here and there from selling other people's products or having ads on the site. But then I think there's like a light bulb that goes off in people's head, where they have that aha moment of like, hey, I could actually make money from this if I put some extra work and like some thoughts behind it. And then they're kind of like, but how do I do that?
Mhm.
Well, I was going to say part of what we see a lot is that people will listen to a podcast or they'll hear a story of somebody else doing it and they're like, that sounds great. I want to do that. And so they're like, let me go look at what that person does. Well, they have a blog and a podcast. So I'm going to start a blog and a podcast. And then they don't really connect the dots between how they're going to go from that to actually making money. And they end up doing a whole bunch of things for a long time. And it ultimately leads to burnout and frustration because they're like, okay, I've written 100 blog posts. I did all this stuff for the podcast, which, by the way, is a lot more work than anyone ever told me it was going to be. And at the end of the day, I'm actually losing money because now I'm paying for different services. Like I talked to a woman the other day who was in this scenario. She still has her job. She does eventually want to leave, but she's been trying to follow what everybody else has kind of recommended. And she basically got to the point where she's like, I have to just cut all of that and kind of be very intentional about what I'm doing because I'm spending $500 a month on all these subscriptions and different things, yet I'm not actually making any money. So now this thing that was supposed to kind of set me free and give me more options is actually limiting my options because now I'm funding it with my personal life and my salary instead of it supplementing that.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. Yeah, I mean, maybe going into it with a frugal mindset helps because there is a lot of free out there when it comes to being an online entrepreneur too. And a lot of these businesses know that too. Yeah. Hey, if I hook them in the beginning with the freebie and then as they grow, then they'll eventually pay me.
It's the sales funnel. They want you to come in their sales funnel so that eventually when you need more things, which they know you'll need because at one point they were you or they've done their research, then they're like, oh, hey, here's this service and oh, hey, here's this over here. It'll make your life so much easier. And yeah, that I definitely can see that because I mean, pretty much that's the model in the online industry right now is give something away for free. You hook them, you get them on your email list, you get them, and then you keep selling them things as you kind of move them along. And that's great if it's all things you need. But if you get hooked in and you're kind of an impulse buyer or you're a FOMO person where you're like, oh no, I can't miss this deal. You end up paying for so many things. Like we've talked to people over the past couple of years who've paid for services like a landing page service or something. They never used it, but they've paid for it for 12 months monthly.
Well, I was going to say, and so actually I want to ask you a question and see how this comes through. So one of the things that we tend to see is that the habits people have in their personal life carry over to their business. So if they're poor with money in their personal life, they tend to be poor in business. Same thing. If they're good with money and time in their personal life, that goes to business. When you were kind of going through your personal stuff and kind of paying that debt up, do you see that same thing coming over to your business and helping you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I became more interested in online entrepreneurship because of the low barrier to entry and you don't need a lot of capital. I think you guys have even talked to us about this in the past, or maybe I read it on one of your blogs about the difference between your online entrepreneurship and your liquor business because of the amount of capital that's needed in order to start it. So for me, when I started out, I said, well, what's something that I can do that could, express my creativity and I can have some fun with that really doesn't cost me anything, barely anything to start. I mean, you got to get your domain name and your hosting fees and things like that. But that's, low barrier to entry. For example, my brother-in-law, very successful brewer up in Northern Michigan. He started a brewery and he's done very well with it. But, the conversation I've had with him actually on my show too is it costs a lot of money to get a brewery going. You got to make a product. You got to have a place for people to consume it. You got to put it in the kegs. You got to get people on the canning line. I got to have a lot of employees. So there's, I think that to answer your question, Tom, I think that I was interested in getting into a business that had a very low, capital in the beginning. And I sort of kept along that free sort of thing for quite a while, and I'm still taking advantage of most of that because it doesn't need to be so expensive. I think there's lots of tools and tricks and things like that are very tempting. Like you say, hey, this person's using that tactic, and they're successful, so I must need to buy that as well. And I found that to not be true.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that we do all the time, and people are sometimes surprised, they're like, well, you guys have these businesses and whatever else, but we often go through and do a tool audit or basically a subscription audit. What are we paying for? Yep. And then we cut stuff out all the time. So like we used to use a software called Lean Kit to manage all of our projects. And it was like $500 a year and we loved it. But one of the times we did a tool audit, we're like, Trello does just about everything that this does, and it doesn't cost us anything. So we actually got rid of that.
We used Trello before, and then we found this other tool. We were like, oh, this is going to save us so much time, and it's going to help us so much more. And we were using it for a little while, and then, we kind of fell off. And when we did the tool audit, we're like, we're not really using this to the full capacity, and we're paying for it. Why not just switch back and make this other tool work that is free? And one of the things that we talk about often, because obviously Tom is a processes and systems guy, many people out there are very quick to jump on a tool or a piece of software or something because somebody out there told them either they need it or it's going to make your life so much easier and save you so much time. Those are for obvious reasons. Either they want you to buy through an affiliate or they want you to buy because they think it'll save you time. The thing to look at is, how are you doing things? Because a tool is not a magic button. It is, you have to have your processes in place and you have to be doing things efficiently first. And then if a tool will help you be more efficient, then yes, it might make sense to pay for that tool. It's kind of a pros and cons thing. But most people, instead of kind of looking at how they're doing things and how they could be doing them better or saving themselves time just in the process that they're using, they say, well, this is something I need to do. That tool does this thing that I need to do, so I'm just going to pay for it. But then when they get in and buy the tool, it's not helping them. It's actually hurting them because they got to learn how to use it. Maybe it's not as efficient as they thought because the way their brain works doesn't translate into the way the tool works. And then they're not even using it, and then they're paying for it because, well, hey, I bought the year because I thought I would need it. And now you just spent more out of your business that you didn't need to.
I don't know if you guys are coaching via osmosis right now, but I love this tool audit, and I'm writing that down because I'm thinking of one specific one that I've got right now that I know it's just like $100 a year, but it could be $0 a year pretty easily if I spent maybe 2 hours on my site. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Well, and oftentimes people are looking for how they make more money. And you guys experience this with your personal budget, where it's like, one of the best ways to make more money is to actually just cut your spending. And we've had entrepreneurs that we've sat down and done this with, and we've actually given them a raise of like $1,000 a month because they're cutting out all these expenses that they didn't realize they had and were paying for.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
So I'm curious. A lot of people come to us and...
Was that a gong?
That was Tom hitting.
I thought that was like, oh, it's the end of the interview.
I was going to say, yes, whenever we get to a really good point, it's like gong, just to make sure everybody hears it. So, you've got, a spouse, you've got kids, you've got a job, you've got a business. We were the same way. And people are always coming to us saying, like, how do you guys get it all done? How do you make sure that one thing doesn't take over another one? And for most people that we work with, it's only a temporary period of time because eventually they're going to leave their job and then it's just business and family. So for you, where you're planning on having all three continue to go forward, what are some of the experiences or strategies that you've had to make sure that those are all in alignment and one doesn't take over the other, for example?
Well, first of all, it's a daily struggle, which is fun, but
struggle is real.
Like you'd appreciate, Tom, just systems and processes help me get through it. It's also setting boundaries of when I have family time versus when I have, business time. So, and work time. So they're all separated, obviously. So I find the best opportunity for me to work on my side hustle is early in the morning or late at night. Because that just kind of fits in with my kids' time with my kids and my opportunity to keep my full-time job going. I also utilize, I'm sure there's another app that I could be paying money for, but I utilize the free app on my iPhone. I think it's called Reminders. And I set a recurring reminder for things that I need to do with my side hustle every day so that I don't forget to do them. And it's just repeated activity that helps me move things forward in that fashion. One other practice that I do as a father and trying to be more present husband and father is that when I get home from work at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, depending on traffic, I turn off my phone. I try to do this thing. I interviewed a guy on my show, and he called it minding the gap. So the time between when you arrive home from work and then you go into family mode. And for me, I get out of the house, I get out of the car, I take a deep breath in the garage because I'm going and turning into dad, right? Turning into husband. And I greet my family. I immediately go upstairs. I change out of my work clothes. I splash some water on my face. I turn off my phone and I put it on the dock upstairs. So it's away from me, away from my family. So I'm not checking it constantly when we're spending family time together. I change my clothes. I head downstairs and voila, I'm in dad mode. And I keep that phone off until the kids are put to bed, because I have found, and I don't do this perfectly every time, but I have found that if I've got the phone, I'll either get a text or it'll be a habit that I'll look at, social media. And then not only am I taking myself away from my family, but I'm also modeling that behavior to my kids, saying, hey, this special time that I have with you right now, it's more important for me to check my Facebook status or my Instagram status than to talk cars with you, son. So I don't want to do that. So it's something I'm working on. And those are some of the processes that are helping me.
I love that.
Yeah.
So much.
Well, I was going to say, and so you talked about modeling for your kids, and that's a big thing for us too. We actually brought our daughter on the podcast and kind of asked her like what her thoughts were, like what we do.
People submitted questions. It was hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then, and our daughter was actually inspired by your daughter. So one of the things our daughter loves to do is she makes charts and she tracks things. So like down our hallway, she's got charts for everything. Yeah. And when your daughter Zoe actually had a challenge where she was going to stop sucking her thumb, you guys did a video and I saw it. I showed it to Elena and she was like instantly hooked.
Yep. Now we can't get her to stop making charts.
Yeah. So she actually, not only did she complete, I think Zoe had like a 2-week challenge she was doing. Mm-hmm. So our kid's a little nuts, apparently. Because she's been modeling us. She said, well, 2 weeks isn't enough. I'm actually going to go for 100 days and track it every single day.
That's awesome.
So she not only did that, but then what she did was said, hey, this is great. How do I help other people? And she went to her classroom.
Kindergarten classroom.
She went to all her friends and said, what's a bad habit that you want to stop doing? So she took notes on all of them. And then she went back to them and said, here's how you can stop doing it. She showed them how to do a chart and everything else.
She gave them each kid in her class had a Post-it note with their name on it. And it said 100 days. And she walked around and handed them out and asked them what their bad habits were and told them that they need to make a chart for 100 days and keep track and don't do their bad habit.
That is beautiful. This is a future book that she's going to have to write.
Yeah, and she keeps doing it.
Children's book.
Finding things to make. Now she's made a behavior chart for her little brother. He gets stars or check marks if he's good, and he gets an X if he's bad.
I love it.
So I'm curious. Now we're going to shift away from the business side and more into the parent side.
Sure.
So obviously there's a lot going on in your life. So what are some of the things that you do to make sure that you are modeling those good behaviors, for, not only being a father, but also being a good husband?
That's a great question. I would say, I talked at the beginning of the show of things that I'm trying to work on in my life, of trying to have a great marriage, trying to improve the relationship with my kids, and then my personal finance. So from the marriage side, I'm working on communication better with my wife. And I feel like, obviously, as we're modeling that good communication behavior, that is rubbed off onto our children. I get a new day every day to try to be the best husband I can be. And some of the things that I'm working on are not always trying to fix things when she's talking to me.
Oh my gosh,
I'm right there with you.
It might be a male thing, my friend. We hear issues, we hear things that are coming up, and we go straight to solving the problem. But more often than not, I believe, my wife is just looking for me to hear her out and be a good ear. And, there are times when she say, what's your opinion on that? Or what's your thoughts on that? But more often than not, sometimes she just wants somebody to listen. And the big thing I'm working on is truly listening, not waiting for my turn to talk, listening to what's happening, because I don't know, that's something I'm working on from the marriage side, for sure. Definitely. And then kids, I love the challenge side of things. Zoe also loves challenges. And she is doing some fun activities with me right now. We're both working on being better charitable givers. It's something that, I've done really well in earning money or paying off debt and things like that. But the charitable giving side of my life has, I haven't been focusing as much on that. And I did a little introspection a couple months ago, actually looking at what we actually give. And I was below the average giver of an American. And that's something that I wanted to change. And I wanted my daughter to do it along with me.
Mm.
So through her work that she does at the house, her chores, she has a give jar. And for a while, the money was just piling up. I mean, we go to church every once in a while. We're not the best at going to church all the time. And we drop some money in the jar or in the basket. But, with the money piling up in her jar, we said, well, what can I do to find some organizations that Zoe feels passionate about, that I feel passionate about, that we can both give to, and, work on this charitable giving together. And it's been a lot of fun. So modeling, it's something I always want to teach my kids, but I'm finding that partnering with my kids is also teaching me a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And, one of the things that I think is great, especially when we can have these conversations, is so often people put on that front or that facade, or you only see what's on social media. And, a big thing of what we try to do, I know you do with your podcast as well, is like, here's what it really is. Here's the ups. Like, here's
life.
Here's when I, we're able to pay off, our mortgage in this time, but also here's some of the challenges. And, I love the fact that, you're doing those introspections, because we do all the time as well. And we try to kind of dispel a lot of what's out there that isn't reality, or that, people are trying to live up to, and say, like, this is what it is. Like, we face challenges all the time. Like, we got into debt and it took a long time and we got out of debt, and we do these things that work well and we do these things that don't work well. But for anybody listening, just want you guys to realize that everybody goes through this, and they go through it from their career perspective, from their business perspective, and from their personal life perspective as well.
Yeah. And I guess to that end, Tom, be wary of the folks out there that are the gurus that say everything is roses and sunshine, because that's not true. I mean, it's just think about that in life as you're learning about the next gadget to buy from the next guru. Think about that, and are they speaking to you how you should be spoken to?
Yeah. It's not all rainbows and unicorns and easy buttons.
That's right. I feel like that easy button from Space. Awesome.
I'm going to make myself a shirt.
Yeah, you guys got a new t-shirt line coming out.
I
like
love
that.
it. Oh, I have so many ideas. Don't even get me started. All right, Andy, I know there are going to be some people who want to reach out to you after this and maybe find your podcast and read some of your blog posts. So where is the best place for them to come and find you?
Yeah, that would be great. MarriageKidsAndMoney.com is the best place, and Marriage, Kids, and Money podcast is in any major podcast player. So we'd love to connect with anybody. Thanks.
Yeah.
Very nice. And did I see it right that you're actually speaking at FinCon this year?
Yes, I have the opportunity to speak at FinCon. I'm so excited. That is the opportunity for financial money nerds to get together and just be nerds. I went for my first time last year, and I got to be honest with you guys, it was fantasy land for money nerdery. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, sweet. What's the topic?
Right now it is TBD, but I believe that me and a group of podcasters who were nominated for best new personal finance podcast last year are getting together to share our learnings from the first year in podcasting. So it'll be a great opportunity for the newbies out there that are thinking about podcasting to hear all of the great things and the stuff that you got to learn from too.
All right. I love
Absolutely.
it. It has been another amazing episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and lifestyle builders. And we, of course, want to extend a very, very special thank you to you, Andy, for coming on the show and just sharing all sorts of wisdom and gold nuggets.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
Absolutely. And, if you guys didn't hear it throughout the show, remember it now that it's really all about your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Do you want real-time guidance and support from seasoned entrepreneurs who really care about your results? If you're nodding your head or awkwardly shouting yes in public somewhere, then we invite you to join Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. You can find out more at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
Your life, your business, your way. Join Family Entrepreneur Life. Join Family Entrepreneur